Welcome to the Chromebook Management Mini Course for Education. This webinar is presented by VIZOR for Chromebooks. Many schools come to us after purchasing hundreds, if not thousands, of Chromebooks. They realize that managing them is actually a bigger project than they initially thought. As device management experts, we review their project needs and provide solutions. However, we realized that the project would be less stressful if schools understood the scope of managing Chromebooks before they were purchased. So by the end of this webinar, you will know the top 3 best practices for Chromebook management. You will have a better understanding of how to prepare your school for hundreds of Chromebooks, and we will provide some free resources to help you get started. Just before getting into the presentation, we want you to know that everything we mention is the bare minimum that you need to put in place for proper Chromebook management. Let's dive in to the first best practice. Track who is using what. The first best practice for Chromebook management is tracking who is using what device. Just like when you lend a book from the library, you need to know who is responsible for each device. This is even more important when each student has their own device and when they can bring the Chromebook home. To clarify, we aren't tracking the location of devices, we are tracking the device's information. And there are 4 reasons you want to track who is using what. First, by associating a device to a student, you are holding that student accountable for that device. And this has proven to reduce theft and damages. Second, you improve your IT services and help more students, teachers, and staff. Let's say there's a hardware problem. Now, usually this is the time when you would ask them for an ID number for their Chromebook. And in more cases than not, that's when things start to go downhill. However, if you're already tracking who is using what, then you would ask them for their name instead. You would refer to your spreadsheet and get the Chromebook ID from there. In a solution like VIZOR for Chromebooks, the warranties, insurance, all of that would come up at once and you can make a quick, informed decision. But at the very least, keep listening to grab the spreadsheet we created for you. And with that in place, you're starting to streamline the process. The third reason you want to track who is using what is because now schools are taking a hybrid approach to learning. Some students are in the classroom and others are at home, and on an IT level, this is chaotic. The bare minimum would be to track who is using what, just based on these circumstances. It is absolutely essential to keep track of the devices. The last reason to track who is using what is if your schools have chargebacks. So if a student breaks a Chromebook, you have to know which student is responsible and which parents you need to charge the fees. As we mentioned before, to help you get started, we prepared a spreadsheet for you to use. If you want something that considers processes and automation, maybe something more proactive, consider VIZOR for Chromebooks. The next best practice is to track costs associated to your Chromebooks. You can argue that it's already stored in an accounting system. And although that is true, you don't have access to that accounting system, and it doesn't store IT information along with it. For example, ongoing costs include repairs, inventory, warranties, and insurance. If you don't have the initial cost of a Chromebook in front of you, how do you know whether you should repair it or replace it? How will you know about warranties and when they expire? All this IT information that accounting cannot provide. You need to know the cost of the initial investment and the ongoing costs. This helps you make decisions every single day. It helps you choose repair vendors, prepare for inventory, and know how much a parent owes you for a broken laptop. Another reason you want to track costs associated to your Chromebooks is to identify trends before a whole school year goes by. Typically, you would review the costs at the end of the year, but by tracking costs, you can catch these trends early on and adjust accordingly. For example, a student is responsible for breaking his or her Chromebook every month. By tracking who has what and the costs associated to the Chromebooks, you would identify the student early on and take necessary steps. Another example is if there is a common repair that comes up on a weekly basis. If this trend is noticed, you can deal with a vendor for that specific repair, and you can ensure that your insurance covers this repair maybe in the following year. And the list of benefits goes on. VIZOR for Chromebooks created a spreadsheet for you to help you get started. Although you can't track this information in Google Admin Console, you can upload the spreadsheet to G Suite. The last best practice that we are covering today is repair management. For a school of 1,000 students, there will be about 25 Chromebook repairs per week. This can be a cracked screen, fluid got into the device, or the software isn't working. It costs between $50 and $200 per repair. That's between $1,200 and $5,000 per week on repairs. And at that rate, it would be silly not to track them. You need to track who is using that specific Chromebook, the type of repair, how much it costs, if you can fix it internally, the vendors you deal with, and previous damages. Managing repairs can get very complex. So let's go through all these things you need to track and why. So first, who is responsible for the Chromebook? Take note of the students who are breaking Chromebooks because this can be a recurring situation. It's also important so you know about any insurance or deductibles available. Second, the type of repair and how much it costs to repair. You want to estimate to see if it's worth repairing because some repairs can cost more than the actual device. If so, can you repair it internally? If not, who is responsible for repairing it? And that brings us to the third, who is responsible for repairing it? Which vendor? Is it the manufacturer, reseller, and how long will it take to repair? By knowing who has what, by tracking costs, and by tracking repairs, you can make informed decisions every day. You help identify trends so you can adjust accordingly. You better prepare for common repairs. You build relationships with vendors, and you are better equipped in-house to fix the repairs. We created a spreadsheet to help you get started with repair management. As you can see, repairs can get complex very quickly. So the spreadsheets are a good start, but consider VIZOR for Chromebooks to help streamline those processes. And with that said, that wraps up the Chromebook Management mini course for education. As a thank you for joining us today, we want to offer an exclusive mini course promotion. Normally, we sign a 1-year contract for VIZOR for Chromebooks. However, we are offering an additional 2 free months if you sign up for a product demo in the next 15 minutes. Depending on the size of your school, this is a value between $300 and $2,000. The demo is to help determine if the solution is right for your school, and it locks in the deal for 60 days. We highly recommend signing up and securing the offer. Thanks so much for joining. Talk to you soon.